Okay, in this video we're going to talk about how much to bring, how much money you need to bring to Taiwan, Korea, China, or Japan. So if you're thinking about teaching English in these places and you want to know about how much money you need and stuff like that, I'm going to talk about that in this video. Okay, so I've taught English in 3 of those places. I haven't yet taught English in Japan, but I'm pretty familiar with it, and I'll tell you about what I know. Okay. Moment. So, okay, number 1, let's start with Taiwan. Okay, so another thing, I'm not gonna. This doesn't include the prices I'm talking about here. It doesn't include like airfare or anything like that. And I'll probably be talking just more like the minimum, the minimum amount that you need to get there. Okay, so number 1, Taiwan. I took about $2,000 with me when I went to Taiwan. I guess that price wouldn't, include a scooter if you need a scooter. So $2,000, it should be enough. You're gonna have to go out, at least one time to get a visa. You're gonna have to go to Hong Kong. Like, say you get there in a month, and within your first month, you find a job that's gonna give you, the work visa and ARC. You're gonna have to, when you find that job, you're gonna have to change your tourist visa, assuming you're entering on a tourist visa. I don't know teachers who do it any other way, unless maybe you do it with a student visa or something. And then you have to change that tourist visa to like a proper work visa and get the ARC, and you got to go to Hong Kong to do that. I'm pretty sure. If you have, I think there's some visas you can change them within the country, but I'm pretty sure you got to go to Hong Kong to change it to, get the ARC and proper visa. That's what I had to do, anyways. So yeah, so let's get a cost. The trip up there is going to cost, then that was like 2004 or 2006. Then that was a few $100s to fly to Hong Kong, and that's where most people go for the visa run. So you're going to need that, and then if you're staying overnight or maybe a couple days in Hong Kong while you wait for do all the paperwork and stuff, that's gonna cost some money, So it could cost around $300 or something like that for the whole trip, maybe. Don't quote me on that. I paid about $200 to fly up there, and I did it 3 times before I got the visa that I wanted. So that's Taiwan, about $200. That would, you can get a housing there pretty cheap. So yeah, the other video I just made, you can check out the cost of living in Taiwan and find out more about that. So say $2,000 will do it. I know teachers that went there with less, that like showed up with like $500 or something like that. So there's ways you can do it, but you're gonna have to rent a place, and that usually means you're gonna put down 1 month a deposit down, and then pay a month of rent. So kind of similar to the States, anyway. So that could be, it's not too expensive it's pretty cheap actually to get a place in Taiwan for the most part. Taipei is going to be more expensive. So in general, $2,000. You could probably do it with less, or you could maybe do it with less, okay. Although I'd say $2,000 is probably going to be enough. A little more more will always be better, of course. In this case, if it takes longer or things cost more, and it depends on you a little bit too, on what you can get by on. But in general, food there, stuff's pretty cheap. So. Okay, next place, let's go to China. Okay, China, I'd also say the same, and here's why. You can do it for less. I'd say 2,000 would be pretty good. It's gonna depend. Like like in Taiwan, you gotta find a job. Most people don't. The majority of people don't get jobs from outside of Taiwan. But in China, it's possible to get a job from outside of China. And China, it's gonna cost, I'd say I'd bring at least $2,000. Although it depends. If you got a job and you're gonna get free housing and you get those things too all lined up, you won't need that much. It's gonna depend a lot on a bunch of other factors how much you need. I mean, if you enter on a Z visa, you get the Z visa already lined up, and you got a house and you got a job, then I'm sure $500 would be plenty to start off, if you got those things lined up. If you don't, then there's going to be some expenses. A lot of schools are going to ask you to enter on a tourist visa, an L visa. And the L visas are, if you're an American, if you're from the States, you're going to pay a lot. You're going to pay like $140 for just a tourist visa. And then you're going to have to, that's to get in the country. And then once you get in the country, you're going to have to pay for a Z visa, which means you're going to have to leave the country. You're going to have to go to like Hong Kong. So you have to pay the expenses to get to Hong Kong, and then pay the expenses. You probably have to stay overnight, a few nights in Hong Kong, or if depends how you time it. Maybe you can do it faster than that, and then go back. So you got to pay for the transportation, the visa, and expenses while in Hong Kong. So those can add up, and sometimes maybe the school will help you with that or pay for that, and sometimes it won't. So if you got to pay for 2 visas, an L visa and then a Z visa, that's like pretty much $300 right there. And then from wherever you are in China, you got to pay for a flight to get to Hong Kong, and so on. Now that's if you don't have, if you enter on an L visa. So in that case, you're going to need more money. So then probably $2,000 is going to be fine. It's going to be enough if you're in that situation. And if you're from other countries, then your visa's way cheaper. Americans really got they get kind of screwed on that. So it'll be a lot cheaper. So that's China, and food's really cheap. I made some other videos about the cost of living in China and stuff like that. You can get by pretty cheap if you have to, And if you're gonna look for a house, it's pretty customary to like do I think 2 or 3 months like rent you got to pay up front, something like that. And then you can stay in hostels, to save some money until you get a house and stuff and a job. So that's China. So anywhere from the minimum would be $500 if you got stuff all lined up. You got a Z visa, you got housing, a job, all that stuff lined up. Then yeah, $500 would be plenty. And then if you don't have all that, I'd say I'd bring at least $2,000. Okay, so that's China. So, and next place, let's go. We did China and we did Taiwan and Korea. Okay, Korea, I would say most people go to Korea, they got a job and a house already lined up. So you don't really need that much for Korea. I think $500 would be plenty. Granted, you got a house and a job lined up. So I'd say $500 will be enough. Basically, you need enough for food and pots and pans. Maybe they already have pots and pans in the house. And you might want to bring sheets with you. I mean, I never did, but some teachers do that. Sheets are kind of pricey in Korea, just like the thin one that you put, you wrap around your mattress, or the thin one you may pull over you. Those ones can be kind of pricey. But maybe you won't even need those or something. But if you want those, probably better to buy them in your own country. So that's Korea, $500. It should be enough. And yeah, one thing I didn't say: most schools, they're gonna pay, like private schools, they're gonna pay on the 10th or the 15th, and that's pretty much the same in, I don't know about Japan, but in China, Taiwan, and Korea, pretty much all operate that. They won't pay you at exactly the end of the month. So if you start on the 1st of January teaching, you're probably not going to get paid until like the 10th or the 15th of February for January's work. That's like normal for a private school. If you teach in a public school, then that's a little bit different. They pay at the end of the month. So you work 30 days, you get paid on the 30 day, like that. Now for Japan. Japan, I'd say that it depends a lot. If you got a job, okay, I'll tell you what I've learned. Okay, ECC is like an EKWA. It's a big chain franchise in Korea. They just told me the other day that if I have a job, granted I got a job with them, then I would need to bring at least $3,000. Okay, now that's if I had a job lined up with them. Okay. The minimum would be $3,000. On the same in the blog, you can see another post in there about another guy who breaks down all the cost of living for Japan, And basically what I've gathered is if you don't have a job or a house lined up and you're moving there, I'd say probably $5,000 or more lined up. Although you might be able to do it with like $4,000 or something. It's gonna just depend, on where you're living, what kind of house you want. If you're in Tokyo, you're gonna pay a lot of money. Like in Japan, there's like key money, and you gotta pay. Usually, when you rent a place, you gotta pay like your first month's rent, and then a deposit, and then key money. And the key money you might never get it back. They're just gonna keep it as kind of like a bribe to a landlord or something like that. And those can, so if it's $500 rent, $500 deposit, and then maybe $500 for the key money, so that's $1,500. So it's quite a bit of money right there, right, to move into a place. And in Tokyo, I think from what I've learned, you can easily pay $1,000 a month for rent there. So